Cheers, lad.
Cheers.
Reinhardt.
Hello.
Oh, there he is.
The Stogie lags were the ones that got me invited into this Light 'em Up Lounge in the first place.
Oh, nice. Good to hear.
Beautiful.
Kudos to them.
Welcome, man.
Yeah.
Always good to see you guys.
Likewise.
Hello and welcome. Wednesday evening, Wednesday afternoon, morning. A happy Wednesday to all of you. I'm delighted and honored to welcome you all back at the Light 'em Up Lounge, back for another live show with two very special guests. It's time for the Stogie lads to join us here at the lounge. Two incredible Swedish gentlemen representing the young generation of cigar professionals, cigar media professionals. I dare calling you gents influencers, even though that's probably what modern terminology would sort of call that. In any case, it's been a long time in the making, and I'm very happy to welcome Karl and Ruben with me here today at the lounge, and I'm happy to welcome all of you watching. If you're joining us through Facebook today, then please make sure to make yourselves heard, put all your questions into the comments underneath the live stream. We're always checking, we're always watching. And for all of you guys joining us via the lounge here on Zoom, chime in, bring forward your questions for Karl and Ruben, and we'll hopefully answer as many of them as possible. So without further ado, it is my privilege, my pleasure and honor to welcome Karl and Ruben, joining us live from Sweden, the Stogie lads. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Reinhardt. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Reinhardt. Yeah, I must say we're both in Sweden, but we're in different parts of Sweden now. Unfortunately, we're not sitting together, but yeah, in two different settings.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I joined in a few weeks ago, but without my brother in arms here, Ruben. So it's nice to be here together and just chat with you, Reinhardt. It's always an absolute pleasure, man. You are the best.
Yeah, and for me, this is super exciting being on for the first time. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for the kind words and for taking the time. It's wonderful. Now let's jump right in. There's this old saying that history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it often rhymes. You lads are both avid lovers of history, and you do share amazing content about cigar history through your various platforms. Where does that affinity come from? A, for the historical component, and B, for cigars, obviously.
I guess, yeah, I can start there with, I've always personally been a very big, like, sort of history enthusiast. I wouldn't say like a history nerd. I'm not like too well versed in any specific era or whatever, like, but I've always been very much into history. And I guess it's almost oxymoronic that, like, we are such young sort of people in this community, but we focus so much on like the old stuff that happened decades, if not hundreds of years before we even set foot on this earth. But I don't know. I've always found it so fascinating, and applying that, as soon as I started applying, my sort of love for history, and I'm personally the kind of guy that just, like, I can surf on Wikipedia for hours on end about any stupid topic. But like, as soon as I started applying that to the passion of cigars, I really realized how shockingly vast the connection with every sort of type of history in cigars. It goes so deep with political figures, companies, celebrities. In almost every field has some sort of connection to cigars. And when I started learning some of these, like, quite crazy stories that I guess we might talk about later, that we've done some videos on, when I read some of this stuff, I knew that there weren't really widespread videos or topics about it. So I just wanted to, share it out there and yeah, get it to as many people as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said about us being so young and therefore being oxymoronic, I think that might be one of the reasons why it's so fascinating for us, the history of it all, since we haven't lived through that time and can only read about it, only imagine it, in our heads, and not having really experienced that time at all. And just digging deep into the things that you don't know about, but is, everything leads up to everything else. It's really cool to build your own timeline of what has happened in different parts of the world, but concentrated now around, especially in Cuba, over one person's lifetime from the 60s. That's 60 years ago since the embargo, and so many things has happened in like a single person's life born in the 40s or anything like that with cigars. So yeah, it's cool to read about. It's cool to be able to experience it through making the videos yourself, since we haven't been there for that time.
Yeah, you said it perfectly, lad. I just want to say, like, for example, this cigar, the Lalé that I'm lighting up right now, I know this is from Didier Hovenagel that you had on, I think 2 weeks ago. So that's why I wanted to pick this up.
Absolutely.
And this cigar, that's a decently recent brand on a surface level, isn't in actuality that, because it has connections to Cuba and the early 1900s and like a lot of history. Like, this is a revived brand name, and it has a lot like tobacco workers laws and stuff. I got into a rabbit hole on this brand yesterday on the history. So there's just it's almost never ending with cigars. It's fantastic.
Well, full disclosure, I'm just lighting up one of Melissa's delightful cigars. It's the Maestranza from the Sélection Merapfel portfolio, and Melissa Merapfel, Jeremiah and Joshua's younger sister, is doing a great job of taking care of those brands and that portfolio of delightful products. So I'm looking forward to this one. Speaking of the Stogie Lads as a media platform now, and your various channels, obviously you mentioned your love for cigars, your love for history, and sharing that. But was there ever like a strategic thought behind setting up the Stogie Lads? Was there like a business plan or any motivation to kind of get into the media landscape, or was it just your most natural way of expressing yourselves and your love for cigars?
I can actually just start by saying that, because we've talked about this so many times as well, our journey here, and really to begin with, it had nothing with like a strategic business plan or anything to do with. It was just us posting our own thoughts about cigars that we believe to be everyday smokes. We did see a void that we wanted to fill, which was cigars. Everyday cigars not being talked about on Instagram, but the big sites putting out, double banded cigars, only Cubans, and not talking about the cigars at all, just focusing about building a lifestyle and a brand. So there was definitely a void that we wanted to fill, or that we saw we could enter, talking about everyday cigars, more cigars that everyone can relate to, really.
Yeah, I know that's spot on. Like Ruben said, there was never a strategic plan in a sort of business sense. We haven't made a single dime off of this, and that's we're actually in the minus. Everything we've gotten from the very shallow sort of income that we've just reinvested it. We bought microphones for our podcast to try to upgrade that experience and that kind of stuff. So it's not at all. It's just 100% a passion project in every sense of the word. There's never. I think that's why it's also been so much fun for us, and I guess that's also why it's been a big community has gathered around it, because we're just doing it for fun, and it's always been the reasoning behind it, and it's always been what's been driving us. So I think it's easier to gravitate towards that rather than someone who's clearly sort of out to monetize whatever they're doing, because it's a put off, I think. Personally, that's at least how I feel when someone's so blatantly in your face trying to sell something or has an angle to what they're doing. So yeah, it's just passion. It's just the love of cigars and stuff like this, where we can just make new friends and chat to people in this incredible community. So that's it.
I would say that the word intent is very important here, and ultimately what it all boils down to is sort of the authenticity that you bring to the table, in the way that you express yourself, the way you handle yourself, and that ultimately, like as with Light 'em Up and everything that we do, the intent is always to serve the community, to serve the world of handmade premium cigars that we all love and embrace, because it's so rewarding, purely in the sense that the connections that we make, the relationships that we can build through this humble handcrafted product is just mesmerizing, and it's fantastic. And ultimately, though, I mean, the cigar media landscape has changed dramatically over the last couple of years, and it needs to continue doing so. When you look at the whole media landscape, obviously there's different variabilities to that. It's the traditional print media like Cigar Journal and Cigar Aficionado, Cigar Snob, and all the other publications there. There's new media and social media to a certain extent. Like when you look at that whole picture there, what's your thoughts about it? Where do you see like it needs to evolve? Where do you think it's gonna head into, and how do you see the Stogie Lad sort of plugging into that whole ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a good multi-segmented question. I think it's very interesting. I think social media it's almost gotten bad connotation nowadays. I think there's a lot of negative stuff with social media, but I think with cigars, I think social media really does encapsulate both words. Because when I think about it, you know, just the connections that Ruben and I have made through this media platform are insane. But we see Jose Blanco, who's right here. I mean, with social media, he can publish whatever he's working on with Arturo Fuente right now, and anyone can comment on whatever pictures he puts out or whatever media he puts out, and actually reach out to him directly. And I think that's such an incredible aspect of it, where it actually becomes social. And I think that's really brought closer. Like I think it's actually brought people closer to the source. Like people can actually talk to manufacturers of cigar brands. I think that's super fascinating, and it does allow for a little bit of marketing in some senses for this tobacco community. That's actually, like, the cigar community is very restricted, obviously, and it is a shame in many ways. But I think social media has helped it a lot. I don't know if you have any more thoughts on where it's going, Lad, or Earl, but that's just my initial.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to to pinpoint just how important social media obviously has been for our growing interest. And I mean, I don't think we would be as, you know, into cigars as we are now, of course, if it wasn't for social media. So you can say a lot of bad things about social media, but at the end of the day, it's what really got us into this hobby. It's what allowed us to connect with people since we're so young as well. It's not easy to, you know, none of our friends really smoke cigars, so we need to find those people online, and have done so. And where it's going, I mean, I guess definitely Instagram is regulating tobacco accounts more, and seeing more or less activity because of that, the algorithms and such. So to be able to move the social media to a place like the Light 'em Up Lounge, for example, where you can control it more, you know, through Zoom and yourself, is very important aspect, and allows you to have more freedom as well in what you can do, pretty much, and how much you can spread it. So
that's an excellent point, and I want to talk about the gated communities for the cigar industry a bit more in a few seconds. But just in terms of algorithms and social media, it sometimes feel like, as a global community, all we do is chase algorithms now, and everybody's always trying to figure out where is like the next opportunity to create organic reach. And I mean, you have over 20,000 followers on Instagram. You created a tremendous community there. Are you sometimes like worried if one of those channels sort of shuts off? Because in essence, there's cigar influencers and influencers in other industries who are heavily dependent on one platform because that's probably the only one they live on. What if that suddenly goes away and Instagram decides, as you said, Ruben, to shut down tobacco content altogether? What's going to be left, right? Why are we so, I wouldn't necessarily say dependent, but why do we always play that game of sort of chasing the algorithms, and how do you work around that in order to be set up properly for whatever's going to come next?
Yeah, I think it is a very valid question, and I think the setup is a little bit skewed because there's a lot of power that the company has. Like, there's no appeal process, there's no real. I mean, like, Instagram is allowing a lot of sort of drug related content, and tobacco is being very heavily worked against, and it is painful to see because it's a legal product. So the basis that they have on it is not that strong. I don't really understand what it is behind it. So, and I mean, the power balance is quite skewed because at the end of the day, the company has sort of a be all end all say on it. But to me, it's crossed my mind 100%. It's not something that I worry about. You know, the follower number itself is completely meaningless to me. Like, it genuinely is. Like, the only fun thing about it is the community. And like, so the algorithm also does not, I mean, it doesn't, we've talked to a lot of people through Instagram, and they are worried and like upset a little bit about, you know, like counts going down. But that, to me, that means also absolutely nothing. I mean, for me, what would upset me, like make me sad in the long run, is people not commenting and sending DMs and interacting, because that's really, I mean, all it is about. I spend all day in the Instagram DMs. It's been like a very important point for us to sustain all these years, is to answer literally every single direct message that comes to us on Instagram. And we do that, and we've done that every single year. Even days where it's literally hundreds sometimes of messages, we still reply to everyone. So that's really what's important to me. If a channel goes away, I mean, if we find another relevant channel that sparks the same amount of, you know, pleasure, I guess, or excitement to be active on, then we'll do so. And, you know, if the community is as passionate there, I think we'll be able to interact and grow with a similar amount of people anyway. It would be a shame because I think Instagram is so ubiquitous nowadays. Like, everyone has Instagram almost. It's a little bit like Facebook in that sense. So it's very easy to get in contact with people. And if they do ban the entire cigar community, it would definitely be, you know, it would be heartbreaking. But at the end of the day, you know, as long as the community is thriving, I think we'll still be able to find a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
You have a strong
Absolutely,
Discord presence as well, right? Do you feel like that's a bit more of such a gated community where you're fully in control of what's happening within your little ecosystem there? Do you think that's more what the future is going to look like?
I mean, the Discord is absolutely a great place to just have open and free conversations and everything like that, and it's not, you know, regulated by anyone.
Yeah.
So that is perfectly an example of moving interest from the Instagram to a community and building that on Discord. And then I feel as well like the Instagram has also been great for promoting, for example, the podcast, which we love to do, and has grown into something that is, well, yeah, my most enjoyable part of what we do is you know, planning podcasts and doing the interviews and such things.
Yeah, I agree. The Discord is, I mean, a sad thing about having to move away, I guess, is that there are a lot of alternative social medias. I know about is it called Rumble? I think it's one of those. The thing is, there's a lot of like groups that are very controversial that go towards some of these, and the fact that cigars have to be so punished that we have to sort of push towards these alternative sites because it's labeled as something so bad, it is frustrating. Like that frustrates me so much more than like the whole losing followers thing. It's just a symbolic meaning of like, cigars are now labeled as death and now you guys have to leave because, I don't know, there's no legal basis. That's just what frustrates me most. But we'll see, Reinhard. I don't know. I mean, stuff like this is great. I mean, you have your own website. No one can really regulate against that.
Exactly.
So that's, I mean, these sort of echo chambers, which is also has a negative connotation, but it is an echo chamber. We're a small community that just talks cigars. These are very good. I mean, it's just about growing this. That's why it's so much fun to go on Light 'em Up and get more people involved here, because if Instagram one day goes down, we have this to still reach people, you know.
And I think we see more and more of that, right? Like Dojaverse is one that has been around for quite some time. Web applications coming up. We have with Light 'em Up Go, and you're proud ambassadors of that, thankfully, which I'm very grateful for. We try to provide a service there, not necessarily like an ecosystem like Dojaverse or maybe a Discord channel would be, but just to be of service to the industry. What I mean, most recently on the Cigar Authority podcast, that there was an interesting set of questions that the folks over at the Cigar Authority discussed, and how impactful certain social media channels would be in terms of moving the needle or having an actual impact on the cigar community. Do you think that in that regards, social media is a bit of a fading trend, or just a phase or a transition thing for the cigar community?
I don't see it as a fading trend. I think maybe some gimmicks of it definitely are. I mean, I think what originally Ruben alluded to that spurred us on, the fact that there were a lot of huge accounts that just took pictures of staged cigars that were really expensive, Cubans mainly, like you said. I think that sort of died down a little bit. I mean, not to name names, but there are very big pages that are barely active anymore. And I think that's, you know, that's not a sustainable way of doing it. But at the end of the day, we're like, humans are naturally always sort of magnetically connected to communities. Like, we always want to sort of associate with people.
Social animal.
Yeah, no, but it's 100% true, you know, like finding stuff that we have in common and then like making a sort of mini tribe about it. I mean, that's kind of what it is. So social media is just a way of sort of activating that. I think, like, in a sustainable sense, that's the way it's used. Then there are gimmicks of it, like the staged photos that, you know, that's a quick way to get followers. Some people exploded and got huge accounts, but if you don't have any substance behind it, and no, again, using that word intent, no intent of actually connecting with people more than just the picture and the like, then that's not really going further. So I don't think it's a fleeting thing, social media. I just think it's always going to be evolving to different. I mean, I'm sure there were cigar message boards for the people that are much older than us back in the 90s when the internet was new. People probably found ways to connect back then when you had dial-up and stuff. So I mean,
sure,
social media, and it's just a label for a way of connecting, I think, right now.
Steve Saka sometimes talks about like his early days when he was on all these cigar boards and how people got together there. What's going to be interesting though is if we now split up the landscape into so many of these individual privately hosted communities, is it going to be too much, or do you see like some sort of a consolidation after that, where only the survival of the fittest, only the most popular ones will prevail and be where everybody ultimately ends up communicating?
I mean, definitely these different sites and are creating communities within the communities, right? I mean, people hear about these pages and join them, and may be on several different ones. But I think that as one grows more, then more will flock to that, and I think that's just natural. I mean, it's definitely difficult to say, but I mean, more of the interactive, where you can have more group interactions, definitely build stronger communities than, for example, Instagram, which basically is one page where you can direct message, because then you only get that one-on-one contact. Here and Discord, and I mean message boards or whatever, then you get that whole community interaction, and not just the one-on-one. So I definitely believe that the ones where you can also communicate via video like this will grow in popularity, at least for the ones super dedicated.
Now, let's leave the media side out of the conversation for a little bit and move on, because what I love, Karl, is how you mentioned the depth and the substance that you have to have behind your content and the authenticity component. What you share is incredible in terms of research, the knowledge that you offer, and the depth that you have in your content that you put forth. The cigar landscape is somewhat challenging for outsiders to get a behind the scenes look or to find great information, because when you want to learn about tobacco, the best thing you could do is fly to the DR, Honduras, Nicaragua, spend time at a factory and touch the leaf, smoke pure grade, but that's not easily accessible to everybody. Right. And same when it comes to historical information and just that in-depth knowledge. How do you research that? What are some of the sources and resources that you try to tap into in order to have that strong content and so much historical references?
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit twofold. Like you say, it's almost like a jungle of information, and with cigars, we're in a gray area where it is, some stuff is mainstream enough to have Wikipedia pages. Like some cigar brands, the classic ones, have Wikipedia pages, whatever, where you can very easily find info. But sometimes you have to really dig. And Cigar Aficionado is a classic. Maybe it's not as many people are reading it as a print magazine, but they still have a wealth of knowledge, articles from 25, 30 years ago, with a lot of good information. If you just dig and you're hardworking enough to find the info, you can always reach it. So that's why I'm sort of using our podcast and that kind of stuff as trickle down knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to research as much as I can myself to put forward information, but then Ruben and I, we talked about the podcast slightly, and we have some people here, Jose, like I mentioned before, that have been guests. And in that sense, I'm using both secondary and primary knowledge, where we're literally interviewing the people that have been there themselves throughout this era, and sort of absorbing that information and sharing it ourselves, and also letting them share it directly, like Jose on our podcast. So it's both. It's twofold, I guess. It's digging myself so other people don't have to. Like I dig through 10 articles and make a 3-minute video on that kind of information, and it's also direct to the people sort of stuff through, like, our interviews, for example.
Yeah, and no, I agree. What makes us think about or come up with different podcast ideas as well is mostly our own interest of what really we see as very what people would like to know more about, and that gets us into that loop as well, and researching everything really there is about the topic, and especially the more in-depth episodes that we do. We have to, we can't just take one source, of course. I mean, that would just be reading up an article, and that's not what we want to do either. We want to really get into the subject and make as good content as possible. Now I see Jose is eager to get in on this.
Jose, welcome. I have to say, you had a wonderful interview with the lads, both on Meet the Professor, which was an excellent show with Karl and Ruben. But Jose, you were also a guest on the Stogie Lads podcast.
Yes, I've known them, I think, now for close to 2 years. First, through a mutual friend that now is working for another company, and my cousin that's very close to them. Listen, I think they made a lot of valid points. I mean, I must get, without lying, 8 or 10 requests a day to join groups. Most of them, I know them. I write back to them. I said, look, I could join it, but look, with all my obligations, with all the work that I have to do, I'm not going to be able to really that. And they understand it. And once in a while, if I see a tag of Carlito or Jeremiah or Fuente product or something interesting, I'll make a like, make a comment on it. But what worries me, and I think it's a valid point, if Instagram or Facebook were to all of a sudden say, well, tobacco products is not allowed. I mean, the community would be so diluted that where do you really go? Because for you to get information, you know, you got the 2 or 3 big magazines, you got a series of 8 or 10 media people that are doing a great job. But if all of a sudden that media is totally out of it, I mean, what happens? Look, the way I see it is Facebook in the States is huge still, but Instagram has grown a lot. Parts of Europe does well with Facebook. But if you look at the overall impact of social media for cigars, it's Instagram, because Instagram covers the whole world. I have people from countries I never even heard of that are interacting. But going to what Karl and Ruben have done, and that's why I make my comments about the new generation and how talented they are, is because they research, and research. When we had the interview with Edward and Eddie last week, Karl sent me a nice message, and he learned a couple of things that he didn't have even an idea of it. And I know that after that, he's going to research it more and more. And Ruben, and what they bring is a honest content. What they write is, you know, they look at data, they research this article and this article, and this guy wrote this article, and they found this in this Wikipedia or some website, and they condense it all together to bring it a very interesting and professional media aspect that really, even I've learned stuff that they have posted that I didn't even have a damn clue about it. So I take my hats off to them. The same that I've done with you. You do your work very professional, very well researched. And to be honest, we need young people to step up at the plate and do things a little bit different. I think you've done it different. They've done it different. And a lot of people have done it different. So Ruben and Karl, they went to one of my events in Sweden, and I met them personally. I interact with them a lot. And the only thing I could tell them is continue doing your work. I think you both have a brilliant future in the industry. I know you're not making money, but I can tell you this. People are already looking at you. Just keep doing what you're doing, and who knows what could happen in the future. My congratulations to both of you.
You're too kind, Jose. You're
Yeah.
you're all too kind.
Thank you so much, Jose. And yeah, speaking of that that time in Sweden where we got to meet you, that was absolutely amazing that we, you know, had first interactions on social media and everything, and then we finally got to meet you in person. And that just says one of the great things about the community, as well as being able to meet up with the people who you chat with as well.
And I think my partner in crime is around there. I don't really like him a lot, but you know, he might want to say something.
Ruben, Karl, don't believe a word the professor tells you, because you're on the wrong track. Listen, I don't know what he said because I'm trying to find some connection. I'm in the middle of the jungle here.
Wow.
I'm actually in Sardinia with my family on holiday, but there is no way ever that I would miss in my lifetime getting on this show.
But listen, hey, I'm traveling, and guess what? You know, I know this is not a comedy hour, but you see this? I got to get a vacuum for my little Frenchie, man. I hug him so much. I got hair all over the place. So they told me, don't come back to DR until you bring a vacuum. But anyway, Ruben, Karl, I totally agree with everything the professor said. You guys are amazing.
Papo, don't agree with a word the professor said. What's wrong with you? Are you sick?
No, I agree. Hey, I heard the voice and I know, but you know what? I took my medication this morning early, so I'm just a little more settled. I just want to say thank you, especially to Reinhard, for bringing these amazing guests. So much information. It scares the shit out of me. It really does. To think that we could be facing this, and we've faced so much already, just one challenge after another. And the only way, gentlemen and lady, the only way we're going to survive is we stick together, and our community continues to grow, which you're participating in, and you're developing, and you're supporting. We just have to stick together. We're a strong voice, and the stronger the family. God bless you all. I'm running. I better get this vacuum, I'm gonna have my ass sleeping in the garage. Okay, the dog's gonna be sleeping in my bed, and I can't have that happen. I'm too old for that. Big hugs to everybody. Love you, man. Sorry that I'm running like this, but I got to get to the airport pretty soon.
Yeah,
Love you
thank you,
guys.
Carlito, and
Thank you
good
so
luck
much.
with that.
All right.
We
Be
love
well,
you,
everyone.
Carlito.
Bye bye.
Thank
Take
you so
care.
much for
Hey,
for
right.
jumping on.
Hey, Profe, let me just say something.
Uh-huh.
Don't count your chickens until the eggs hatch. I don't drink my medications on Sunday, so get ready. Get ready, my friend.
Have a safe trip.
Love you. All right. Thank you all. God bless, man. Be well.
Safe travels.
Ciao.
All right, boys. So, anyways, congratulations on everything you're doing.
Jeremiah,
Jeremiah, you were just
muted.
muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yes.
So I've been speaking for 15 minutes and nobody's heard a word I said. Maybe that's a good thing. Anyways, listen, I could not miss this opportunity to show you my respects. I know you come on the show, and what you have achieved so far, as Carlito and Professor have said, is mind-boggling in such a small lapse of time. You guys are passionate beyond belief, and you're using your passion to communicate. And that communication is key, because whatever Carlito does, and whatever I do, whatever the professor does, or anybody else in this industry, if it's not communicated properly, it will have absolutely no impact. And our investment in terms of our livelihood, in terms of our day-to-day sacrifices, are only truly shared through the communication which people like you are bringing to the cigar aficionados, to the passionados, like Reinhard likes to say. And for that, we're all of us growers, all of us manufacturers are eternally grateful.
Thank you. Too kind.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
All right, I'm going back to the Sardinian jungle. Take care,
To the
guys.
jungle. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a typical light 'em up Wednesday when you have Carlito on the fly, Jeremiah from Sardinia, and Jose in his dark, shady cabinet joining and crashing the party. That's wonderful, and it's a testament to the community, to the camaraderie, and all of us being connected. And it's a testament to you, gentlemen, to you, Karl and Ruben, for the respect and the appreciation that people have for what you do, and the way you handle yourselves, the way you express yourselves, and ultimately how you provide value for our industry, because that's what it's all about. And with everything that you do, I mean, whether it's the historical references and the information that you provide about old Cuban brands, about the evolution of families, like the tremendous show that you did with Jeremiah just recently, or also I think it was earlier today when you launched a new podcast episode about non-alcoholic pairings. That's all fantastic content, and I would love and I would hope that more people can discover it. So if you haven't done it, for everybody watching, check out the Stogie lads, their podcast, their YouTube channel, their Instagram, their Discord. It's well worth your time. Gents, that depth in your research and in the content that you share, is that also because of your academic background? You think that's helpful, or part of the reason why you love to dig deep into things and not just scratch the surface?
I mean, I guess we're students now still at university, so I don't know if that's spurring it on a little bit, but I think for me, it's mainly just because of history was always sort of my favorite subject. And in my high school, I had to study theory of knowledge, which was another course that was very, I mean, it was looking at the way you find information and actually judging the validity of it, and just like placing your own perspective on knowledge and how you actually absorb it. So I think that's shaped a little bit of my perspective personally. How about you, Ruben?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not just with cigars and history itself, but really with anything that comes up. Especially, Karl, I must say the whole time I've known you, since the 8th grade, it's always been when we're watching sports or anything. If something comes up and you don't know about it, you'll instantly, look it up, and then we'll sit and have a conversation about it. But I find that to be a very good quality with with you, and something that I, you know, do as well now because of it since I met you. And yeah, and I guess that also that we're able to sit down and research stuff together, because it happens in just our day to day, and our friendship as well is really what it's like.
One last thought on it is, Reinhard, we talk a lot about pairings. We did a podcast today that was non-alcoholic pairings. To me, the best non-alcoholic pairing is knowledge behind the brand. Like when I actually after our episode with Jeremiah, who just spoke here, I mean, if you guys know him, he's the guy behind every Cameroon wrapper on the market. Every Cameroon wrap cigar that I'm smoking just tastes that much better when I know the depth and the history and the passion behind that product. Like it may sound just like bullshit words, but it's really like the truth to me. Like for me, I place a lot of value on, like, just when I immerse myself more in a product, it tastes, and the experience, I guess, is heightened even more.
Very well said.
One thing that I'm interested in is you can briefly elaborate on how you guys actually met and how your friendship evolved, and then secondly, how beneficial do you think it is for both your individual cigar journeys to have somebody close by, to have a real lad to share those experiences with, and just bounce ideas and thoughts off of each other?
You want to start, Led?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's been really since the first cigar, almost, not really quite the first little one, since we didn't share that one together. But when we started getting into more and more, then it was definitely, just having that person beside you to be able to bounce ideas off as well has been super beneficial. And we've also smoked a lot of cigars on our own, so we're not shaping, our palates after each other's, even though we do think very like on most of the cigars. I mean, if you've watched our reviews, it's a lot of the same things coming up. So I'm not sure if that's been a product of that as well, but I say it's mostly been really, really nice to have someone physically beside you when smoking a cigar, and being able to share ideas and just share the knowledge. I mean, there's so much more conversation going on and information being looked up at when we're smoking a cigar together than just sitting by yourself, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, through Instagram, we've noticed that too. There's a lot of people that reach out, that, I mean, young people like us, it's harder to find people in our own age that do smoke cigars. So we're very, very fortunate. I think the passion initially grew a little more because we could have that together. Like we could be two friends having a cigar every once in a while when we hang out, and it's not only solitary. But then through Instagram, that's, we can have Zoom chats. We've had Zoom chats with our follower groups. That, I mean, we have a lounge like this sort of, but just casual every once in a while. That's been super fun as well. I think there's a lot of value behind that. And I mean, how we became friends, I don't know how. That's not the most interesting story. Like, we were just in the same class. In I guess it's middle school or whatever you would call it, and we just got along well. We had sort of similar backgrounds, living abroad most of our lives outside of Sweden, so that, I guess, helped out.
Karl, did you both discover cigars independently, and then you just sort of reconvene and figured out that you both like cigars?
We got interested in the sort of cigar, and I guess we got on a very superficial level interested in cigars and like whiskey and that kind of stuff. Then we went when we were a little bit older. We actually tried cigars independently of each other, actually, and we both sort of found out independently of each other, but then also rekindling over that we both really did enjoy cigars, and then we just explored the passion, as friends together, and it just grew from there.
Excellent. Brian, you had a question, but you also posted in the chat group that you're looking for sherry recommendations. Karl and I, we spoke in great length about sherry pairings, and how in particular I love a Great Don Carlos with the Cameroon wrapper that Karl mentioned from Jeremiah and the Merrifield family, and how it beautifully pairs with an Amontillado sherry or a very mature Palo Cortado. So if you're looking for sherry recommendations, Brian, we'll do a little follow-up show on that, hopefully.
Oh yes.
Say.
That'll be great. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I'm going to throw Ian under the bus. He was supposed to send me an email with share. I told him I want to be like Niles and Frazier and just walk in and be like, Sherry Niles, and know what I'm talking about. I can't pronounce, let alone spell the ones you just said. So if someone could like put it in words in the chat or something, that'd be amazing. But yeah, I know nothing about it. That would be amazing. Yeah, that's great.
Brian, what's great about sherry is it's a very versatile pairing for cigars, because when you talk about port wine, and I know sherry and port usually get thrown into the same bucket as fortified wines. Port wine is most certainly always sweet, and with sherry, even though most people get confused about this, 90% of what you find in the sherry triangle of Jerez, Sanlúcar, and in the area of close to Cadiz, in the Sherry Triangle, it's dry qualities, where you not necessarily have that sweetness, which sometimes can just be too much with a cigar, but from a light and mineral fino or a manzanilla, where you get that salty quality, all the way up to olorosos, with the heavy impact of oxidation. You have so many variables there and so many different styles that you compare with different types of cigars. So I can only highly recommend sherry as a wonderful cigar pairing, and it's a great combination to explore with different types of cigars. But that's just a little add-on. You had a question, don't you?
That sounds, yeah, for sure I do. Yeah, that sounds great. I wouldn't want it to be too sweet. Like I can't imagine I would break out a port, I don't think. So, but I guess a drier, is that the right word? Like a more of a dry sherry. So yeah, a couple questions if that's okay. First of all, I ask everybody that I meet, from anyone that's Finnish or Norwegian or Swedish. I'm a huge, you were talking about sports earlier, I assume probably football, I don't know, but I'm a World Rally Championship fan. You know, the WRC. There's so many great drivers from up there. So I'm wondering if you're a fan and what you think of it. It's funny because Jeremiah was just in Sardinia, and they have a great rally every year in Sardinia as well.
You know, it's really funny that you say this now. I'm not a rally watcher personally, unfortunately, but where I am right now, I'm in the countryside in the summer house, and this is really rally country. Our neighbor right here, he builds his own rally cars. And the Swedish championships of rally is actually going on right now. And where I'm at, this is really in the middle of nowhere. Like you can see, it's just forest. There's a lake down there. We're in the middle of nowhere. The rally, Swedish championships is happening this weekend, and it's coming back to this area. There's a little trail. Ruben knows exactly where this is.
Yeah, we've driven that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a crazy, like when you drive it yourself and you know they're going 150, 200 kilometers, it's insane. It's coming past
your
this
own car is,
area.
like, shaking at 50
on the
kilometers
snow,
an hour.
yeah.
But they're coming here to race right where I'm at right now for the first time in 20 years again. So that's pretty cool. So that's crazy that you say that, because that's big news here in this little tiny, village area, I guess.
For
but
sure,
I don't watch personally.
Oh, how's the snow this time of year? Are they going to race on mud?
No, yeah. It's mud and I guess gravel, because I mean it's warm here. I'm just in a polo. It's nice. It's really nice in the summer here. But they do a winter race. But they had to, actually, was sad news, they had to move it north. Like they have rallies in the middle of the country, sort of, and they've had it all like throughout all the years, but they had to move it north because of the way the climate's changing. So now we don't really get consistent snow in the middle of the country anymore in winters every year. So we have to do it northern.
Right. Yeah, they moved north. And then that one year, I think they canceled it all together and did like the Arctic Circle for just searching for snow. Okay, I'll try to get more relevant. I'll ask a cigar question. I'm going to take it. Macy isn't here, so I'm going to take up more time since he's not going to hog up the airwaves. So I'm wondering about your age and your knowledge. You were talking a lot about history and education, and I wonder, was there a sense that you needed to sort of prove yourselves in this world a little bit in terms of like the amount of knowledge that's out there and experience? So you would say maybe there's a lack of experience, but you make up for it with massive amounts of knowledge. Did you feel like that was something that you needed to kind of prove yourself and show, hey, I'm not nonsense, I really know what I'm talking about? I mean, obviously you've done something right because you have the respect of Jeremiah and Jose and everybody, but do you think it just happened to be that you had the tools because you're so educated, or did you feel like this was something where you're like thought about it ahead of time? Like, I have to go in knowing a lot.
Yeah, I can start off with saying there that we kept a hidden identity, sort of, you can say, about our profile for the first, I don't know how long it was,
2 years.
but it was a while. Yeah, 2 years. Just, because we were afraid of that, being so young and with the reactions that you could get from that. So it was really important to really be versed within everything cigars, and before we felt like we could actually reveal our actual ages and be comfortable in the position that we were in, because we didn't either want to pose as knowing too much or anything like that at the early stage that we were at, because like we said in the beginning, we really got to know cigars as well through our through the building of the Instagram as well. So it was definitely that we felt that we needed that backing, that knowledge to be able to stand up for ourselves as well.
Yeah, that's a fascinating question, Brian. And to be honest, I haven't thought of it that way, but I think there's a lot of truth into what you're saying. Like Ruben said, before we knew really how welcoming the cigar community actually is, because I mean, boy, were our suspicions unfounded. Like when we actually did reveal ourselves, we were nervous, like really nervous when we did the first ever video, when we were talking, because we were like, geez, we're 20 years old. People are just going to immediately, discredit us. But in actuality, it was all welcoming. There was literally zero negative comments at all. So we were, I guess, wrong. But I think, yeah, subconsciously, there is probably a lot of truth to that. I think I wanted to dive in so heavily because I thought, there's no validity for us to share. We've talked about content and, like, I guess, meaning and intention a lot. And for me, I felt like there's no way I could pose and post pictures that would have any meaning if there was no content or knowledge behind it. So like, I think that definitely drove me to dive, very much headfirst into the world of cigars, because, what do I have to bring if I'm just a 19-year-old kid taking pics of cigars? What is there to put on the table unless I'm actually not knowledgeable at all on the topic? So I definitely think it's very true.
Yeah, it sets you apart. That's great. That was a better answer than I could have ever imagined. Hiding your ages. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Brian, I just want to add one thing there, and that is to both your points, Karl and Ruben. I fully agree, but at the same time, it's not necessarily always just about showing off everything and pretending that you know it all, because especially in the cigar community, we all learn on a daily basis that the more we know, the more we realize there's so much more to learn, and we're all apprentices of the leaf for all our lives, right? So I think there's a lot of value in also sincerely, authentically, and honestly sharing your journey and your evolution. Gary Vaynerchuk always calls it like document the journey. It's not about the end result. It's not about being the well-versed professional, but about being open and honest about, hey, let's learn together about this product. And I'm not here to take flashy images with lots of filters on it and pretending that I am the master blender and the guy who knows it all, but quite the opposite. Let's share all our journeys, because then we learn from each other. We can learn from our questions, from our mistakes, even though there is no real mistakes, but just all these little things that are imperfect. I think that's very valuable.
Definitely. And that's something that we've really learned this time as well, and realized now, is that you're, like you said, you're constantly learning, and there's no way of knowing it all. And every cigar smoker that you meet has something new to share with you, or a cigar they have tried that you haven't. So definitely, to your point, we're far from knowing everything, definitely. And that's why it continues to be interesting, because there's always new things to be found.
Very true.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thanks, Brian.
Mace, chime in.
Guys, Reinhardt, another great session. It's been too long, so really glad to be back here, see the family again, see everybody here. So welcome everybody, and yeah, thank you. Really much appreciated for this session. But it's an interesting. I've got a few different points to raise. So firstly, Brian, port, definitely do not miss that boat. Get on the port wagon. Seriously, you're missing out. Red wine, port, wow. Don't limit yourself to just sherry. Get on there. That's the first thing. Second thing is actually, so interestingly enough, Karl, Ruben, I think for me during lockdown, it was interesting because I started hunting out different things to watch, different people, different communities to join. And that's when I latched onto your YouTube channel. And so I've sort of seen this evolution in your YouTube channel. And I heard different discussions, and I've read different stories where you guys mentioned how you had some pushback because of your age when you were walking into different lounges and stuff, and you had some of this pushback. So the question that I had is kind of a two-parter in that when you guys were coming out and you thought, you know what, we're gonna get out there, right? So you hid your identities, that's fine. But from a YouTube perspective, when you're visible, how did you guys find, or what did you guys feel was going to be the thing that you were going to latch onto? What was that niche that you guys felt, you know what, hey, it's just going to be the knowledge? You know, I mean, yeah, we're young, but we're going to do something and we're going to talk about what we know. Or what did you feel was the thing that was going to differentiate yourselves from everybody else? Or was it purely, hey, we love cigars, we want to get out there, we want to talk to people? So that's the first question. Second part is now more looking at it into the future as to, you're now, I don't want to say seasoned, all right? That's probably the wrong word, but you guys are kind of, you're getting well known. You've been smoking for a while. You've had a few thousand cigars. Where do you see where you guys were when you launched? The idea, the concept that you had, how do you see that evolving 2, 3, 4, 10 years down the line? Do you feel that you're going to be as appealing to the 20-year-old in 5 years' time? Or how do you feel you're going to have to evolve and develop?
Karl, I think we've lost.
I think you're on mute, Karl. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, my mic is messing up. First and foremost, I think the intention was, like you say, I mean, just putting out whatever makes us happy to do. You know what I mean? Like that's, but in part also what people want to see. Like the podcast was due to popular request. I think, young white dudes making a podcast is not a unique thing, right? There's a lot of people that feel like they need a podcast. That's why we didn't really push ourselves to do it. Like we did it because of people like requesting it, like there was actually people saying, I go on walks with my dog, whatever. I like, it would be fun to have a cigar podcast to listen to from you guys. And then we just did it for fun. But then the other stuff is real. I mean, there was no strategic niche behind it. I remember when we did the first video, I thought, when Ruben and I discussed it, that was going to be a one-off thing, and I think we said it in that video too. Like, don't expect videos to come on this channel at all. Like we just thought, this is a way to reveal ourselves. But then there were times when I was smoking a cigar alone, and I had a lot of thoughts on it that I was like, I might record this and like put my thoughts out there. And then it's just organic. Like it really is organic. The first ever like history, mini documentary, whatever you want to call it, videos where I just read a crazy story about something, like the fact that India used to be a major producer of like these trichinopoly cigars that they're called, and Winston Churchill used to smoke these things. Like nobody knows about this anymore because that industry's gone. And I was like, geez, that's massive. Like I just want to make a video to put that out there so someone might stumble across it and learn what I learned, but from an easier source. And then it just evolved, and now there's like we went to Paris this spring, and Ruben edited a fantastic video on that, and it was just a fun thing to make. But like we're not vloggers now. We just that was a one-time video, so it's just whatever we want to make. I think that maybe that's the niche, that it's just so eclectic that it has no threat.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everything's been super natural in the way we've gone from one platform to another, or one media to another. And I think that's just the way it's going to be as well, that we do what we enjoy right now. It's, I mean, the YouTube and the podcast mostly, I think, is the most exciting. And if that turns into something else, now I don't see a different platform taking over in the near future. But just having this natural flow of not needing to go in a specific direction has been really nice for us as well, to just do really what we feel is worth the content and the best way to show the content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I fully support that, guys. So I think, as you say, I think the one thing that caught people, whoever was watching the YouTubes before the podcast, was definitely just, this is what we like. Yeah, we want to talk about the cigar. We want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Great Paris video as well. So in terms of the future, how do you guys see the evolution, I guess, from a YouTube, Instagram, all these different channels? How do you see that evolving? How do you see yourselves tapping into that in 5 years time, right? You're not going to be the young guys in the cigar world anymore.
Right.
You're going to be out there, right? So
Yeah.
how do you guys see yourself being able to say, we're still tapping into that audience? How do you still attract those new smokers who are a bit like, oh, I've had a few pushbacks when I go to a lounge because I'm so young. How do you see yourselves attracting? And the reason I'm asking this question, is purely because from my perspective, on a personal level, I walk into a lot of lounges and I'm the only black guy, and it's an interesting, it's a dichotomy where it's like, oh, you guys are white, but you're so young, people will look at you and be like, what are these guys doing here? What do they know? So it's like, how do you see yourselves evolving and still being able to encourage that new smoker to come in and listen and watch and follow what you guys are doing and learn from you guys?
That's a very intelligent question. It's very interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
The two reactions I get from it, firstly, it's the lack of like knowing. Like for me, it gives me a little bit of excitement, because when I reflect on where we started out, like Ruben and I were kind of half-assing an Instagram page 5 years ago, and like there was no intention of going anywhere, and then all of a sudden we just made a video, like a YouTube video that, I mean, it is like a butterfly effect thing, kind of, because that, like I said, the YouTube video had no intention of spurring along an actual channel where we would post regularly, but then that happened. And then the podcast was literally a few people DMing us saying it would be fun to listen to you guys just chat. And then we did that, and now we've had incredible guests on there, like Jeremiah Merrickfell and Jose, who's here still with us now. So I mean, it's unbelievable, the stuff that's just kind of almost catching us off guard, even though we're the ones doing it. It's almost like we're not planning anything, and that may sound very, very naive, but I guess that's what's been happening. So anything, I mean, it could be anything. That's what's so fascinating with it. But the second part of the question, Lad, I'm going to let you speak a little bit as well, but I just wanted to get it out. Like, I don't know if this is we're just filling a niche right now and we might be cast aside. I mean, if that's the case, then that's the case when we're older. But for me, I think a lot of it is the engagement part. Like, it's just the interaction and like keeping a finger on the pulse. Like we talk to so many people. Like, we talk to so many people through Instagram. It's actually mind blowing. And we get so many conversations about every single little aspect of the world of cigars, that I think that's sort of what would keep us going. I think it's both a community aspect where it's fun for us, but also I think people enjoy it more when they can actually just reach out to us, and we're always accessible and we can always talk. So I think that will keep it current to an extent. Like, to always be able to interact with people will help us, stay, I guess, relevant in a way, because I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what many cigar smokers think about the industry and the community and stuff, just because we have countless interactions on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I must say I really enjoyed your question as well, because you just in a second you start thinking about, like you said, 5-10 years into the future, and it's really somewhere I haven't been a lot in my mind, thinking about where we would be in 5-10 years, since this just started recently as well, just 4 years ago. With that said, I'm also excited about with what direction we will flow into, because I believe that, like it's been, the evolution has been natural for us into the different segments. Now we've been having a lot more interviews on our podcast, so that's been more of the direction we've been going, and that was only made possible from the first interview we had. So that could really spur into anything going forward. And as we age, I don't think we'll become the face of, attracting the newest, youngest smokers. instead we might find a different niche of, I guess maybe carry on interviews or whatever it happens to be that we drift to. But with that being said as well, everything that we've done is documented and exists, online. So if someone happens to stumble upon our page, then there's still those videos from when we were young as well.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to think about the evolution going forward. And I guess I can say honestly that we both don't know exactly where it's going to head to.
No, it's
Well,
100% true. No idea.
Well, guys, all I can say is, as what you've done so far is sort of try and just go with go with the flow, see what people like and deliver. So I guess the best way for the future is keep doing that and just keep your finger on the pulse and keep your ear to the ground. But yeah, absolutely great work so far. So love it. Keep it up.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much, man. And great questions. That was really fun to think about.
Mace, I couldn't agree more. And one thing that I would like to add to that is not specifically thinking about a niche that you're trying to step into, but also what I saw before we actually started Light 'em Up. There's very little European cigar content being shared. I mean, the cigar media landscape, apart from Cigar Journal primarily, is very heavily focused on the US market and the US interpretation of cigars. So I think to add a bit of an international perspective there, especially now when we see dynamics of Cuban cigars being less available internationally, and the international market opening up more and more to other cigar origins like the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, Mexico. I think there it's very valuable to share a different perspective and a different voice. And I'm very curious, Karl and Ruben, as to what's your experience regarding different cultures and different perspectives on the cigar ecosystem throughout various different regions all around the world.
Yeah, that's something that's very evident when we talk to people. I mean, the view on what cigars mean is highly different. I mean, in the US, there's still a big portion of people that smoke cigars. It's a sort of daily thing. I think in Europe it's much less so. I think maybe a lot of Europeans here in this sort of room, I mean, the people that are gathered here today are probably more cigar nerds than the average smoker. But I think, in the US it's that old, because that's what cigars were in the early 1900s. I mean, people smoked daily. That's really, I mean, it was a different sort of product. That's still much more in the US than in Europe, I believe. But then you also have, I mean, the growing Asian market, and we talk about that a lot. I mean, in China, I lived in China, so I have a little bit of a perspective to, I mean, I'm not surprised with what's happening, because the ostentatious aspect of it is very, very relevant there. First you had the whiskey boom and the Macallan thing that happened there, and now like with Cohibas, it's almost like jewelry, you know. So, God, cigars can mean so many different things. And you have the makers themselves in Central America, which the product is art to them. You know, it's actually a craft. So that's very, very different. I mean, and that's something I proceed with reverence with when I talk to people, because I mean, people, you know, when people ask, what do you recommend me to try for a first cigar? Where you come from makes it such a huge difference, not only in what's available to you, but also the way you will consume cigars. Like someone living in the UK, I'd much rather try to give them a recommendation of something that's a little bit higher end, because the price difference is so small there. I mean, like a JLP, a Jose El Piedra, which is a budget cigar here, because of the way they tax cigars, is so much more expensive in relation to a more expensive cigar. But, you know, in the US, you have so many bundle cigars, you don't even know where to go. So yeah, it's highly, highly relevant, I think. And, you know, you can't smoke in lounges really in Sweden, whereas in some countries you really can. So yeah, it's tough because we're very united, but the situation is so different, but from country to country, that it is super fascinating, because you get so many different perspectives when you talk to people from all around the world.
Yeah, that's so true. And also with how the landscape is changing. I mean, just now with like Cuba's price hikes, that'll also affect the people in Cuba. That's going to have a massive impact on the cigar culture there, and not only the production but for the people. And yeah, it's fascinating that you say that. So that we're sitting in different parts of the world right now, but the cigar scene is looking so different, and that it's going to continue to change as well. I mean, some countries that are enforcing smoking bans, life bans for tobacco. I mean, that's going to have huge impacts around the world, and it's going to be a very different scenes in different parts of the world.
Yeah, it's just going to increase. I completely agree, Ruben. It's the differences are going to increase much more, and that's going to make it much tougher. Spot on.
Ian has a question for you as well. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you, gentlemen, and I really enjoy your enthusiasm. Perhaps a bit of advice, and it's free, so free advice is worth what you pay for it. You're in Sweden. Do something Swedish, because you need to have a niche. I think, as you said, there are a lot of white guys doing cigar reviews. I look at Brian Glynn, I look at Half Wheel and Cigars Daily, and all sorts of people. But bring in Swedish culture. I appreciate the drinks are expensive there, but pairing with Swedish drinks, and perhaps pairing with non-alcoholic drinks, and do a comparison. So I think that's a niche that might be worth doing. A lot of people now are going off alcohol, so I want something interesting. I tend to drink alcohol with my cigars, but I'm up for being educated if there's something that's really tasty. So that's just a suggestion for you.
Yeah, I can recommend you to. We this morning we released an episode on non-alcoholic pairing. So there's an entire podcast episode. We tried like 10 different non-alcoholic pairings, and we had some Swedish. Like we had a Swedish drinking yogurt there that was a very random addition. So I can spoil to you that it was not a pleasant surprise. It didn't go. It didn't surprise us in a nice way, but I mean, I guess that's a good one. But definitely, Sweden's tough because there is a bigger community here than it seems. But the thing with Sweden is that so many people are so extremely fluent in English that it's like Swedes don't really even consume. Like there's like one Swedish cigar podcast, and I think it's pretty. It does the rounds. But I mean, people here are so good at English that it's people gravitate to the international stuff like a lot. It's it's interesting.
Well, if ever you're in Malmo, look up my friend Peter Cohen, who has a cigar shop there. I don't know if you know him. He's he's in Malmo. Though he was saying that they can't smoke out even in front of the shop now. They can't smoke outdoors on the street. It's getting tough. But I think make it Swedish, because not a lot of people know about. You're a small country or small population, and people have been interested in Swedish culture and Swedish things.
That's true. There is definitely something to do there with Swedish culture, and I think that's something that we could do. And to Malmo, I sorry.
We'll do a fish and cigar pairing next.
Exactly.
Assortment of different fermented fish. Fermented fish and fermented tobacco should go on.
Thank you.
Exactly. Naturally.
Louis, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to ask, you guys have expressed a lot of pessimism about the sort of future of cigar lounges in Northern Europe. And I wanted to ask, like, where do you see that sort of instance of social smoking going within the next decade, 2 decades in the Scandinavian countries, for example, which are putting more severe public smoking bans? Like, do you think the sort of lounge scene is going to disappear? Do you think something else might take its place, like something like this, where people are smoking at home through Zoom? What are your thoughts, hypotheses?
Yeah, I can see, as we get more into the virtual meetings that we've just seen in the past 2 years, 3 years, since COVID. Really good question. And what I think will be more needs to happen then is people organizing their own meetups and just I'm sorry if my sound got really bad right now. I'll just continue for a bit, and then Karl, you can speak so I can fix it. But anyway, what I wanted to say was that it puts more pressure on people being able to meet up by themselves and having more contact through Instagram. I mean, we've met up with a bunch of people since getting in contact through Instagram, and now have regular herbs and meetups at someone's place. And so that is
cool,
an option. Yeah, that is an option. That has to happen more if cigar lounges shut down. And
Right.
and also public smoking. We're not even able to smoke, at outdoor cafes. So it's getting more difficult, but I think that'll open up more routes for people to meet up virtually or get in contact with people who share things.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think it's going to go more private. Like the only real lounges we have left in Stockholm are private members ones, because that's the only legal way you can do it anymore in Sweden. And I mean, the fact that you're forced to do it that way. I mean, I'm part of a private members club now that has like a house, and it's just all it's non-profit. There's like a board of directors that distributes the cash and invests it in like ventilation and stuff. So I think that's where it goes, because that's really the last thing you can ban from a guy, like private clubs, private members organizations.
Very
When you
true.
start getting into that, you're really going far as a government to ban stuff, like if you're imposing on the right to have a private organization. So I think that's where it's going. And like Ruben said, I mean, even cafes you're not allowed to sit at a cafe in Sweden or a bar and outdoor serving and have a cigar or a cigarette or any smoking whatsoever. So I mean, that limits it to force people really to go to private organizations. But stuff like this, like Reinhardt's Light 'em Up lounge here and his app, connecting people to meet up person to person is probably going to go increase both, in real life, like Ruben said, we've met people through Instagram, but also virtually like this. I mean, this is a golden opportunity for someone that knows no one in real life that smokes cigars to actually, talk to people. It's a unique perspective. So
yeah, and
I think this is where it's going.
Like we've gotten so comfortable with sitting through Zoom and everything as well. So it's just something that's been made so much more accessible, and is now, I mean, Zoom's not only for business, of course. I mean, so it's going to continue to grow like this virtual meeting.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you for your question.
Lewis, thanks for the question, and I'm very happy that Sai is back here with us at the lounge, and I'm sure Sai had a wonderful question for you as well. Welcome, brother.
Hi, folks. Sorry I've been off for a while. Had a Mike Tyson dose of COVID, but back on now. Just a quick one, guys. I saw you guys on Meet the Professor there a few months back, and it's fantastic to listen to you. You were very, very interesting. I was a little bit late this evening, so I do apologize. Right, I just had a quick question about the Cuban extortion of prices at the moment. But not just talking about Scandinavia. My brother lives in Gothenburg or Göteborg or whatever he called it for a long time. But do you think that it will have a good impact across Europe on the non-Cuban cigars being distributed to Europe, and help out with promoting more boutique cigars amongst the European population of cigar smokers now that the Cubans have gone to more or less extortion of prices? Or do you think people will have their own set in their ways and stick to what they know?
It's an interesting question. Do you want to start, Lon?
No, go ahead, Lon. No,
I was first of all, I hope you recovered well from COVID. And I hope it doesn't impact your taste buds too much. That was what
getting better.
Scared me with cigars. I was worried that I was going to be knocked out in that sense.
I still like Jose Blanco, so my taste buds are doing good,
That's good. But to your second question, that's something that when we recorded our pod, we had like an emergency thing when the prices when that whole thing was announced by Habanos, and Ruben brought that up because I hadn't even thought of that. Maybe I'm a little bit too pessimistic, but Ruben said that, hopefully this does mean that new brands can sort of enter a market that's been very stubborn. I mean, the European market, especially some countries, have been very stubborn with Cuban cigars. And we know countless Swedes that literally only smoke Cuban cigars and nothing else because of being set in their ways. But I think, for I can answer for Sweden a little bit, because we have a very interesting situation where you have to register each brand, each line within the brand, and each vitola, and you have to pay like a registration fee of £2,500 or euros per year just to have each vitola, and that limits a lot of boutique brands to enter, because I mean, either the distributor here in Sweden has to pay that price, and then if they're doing that, the margins are already so slim, they need to make sure that that brand actually sells, or the brand itself has to pay that price, and then they also have kind of they can't really affect the marketing, so they have to hope that their brand actually sells. So it's a pure supply and demand thing. I mean, if Cuban cigars start to go down and people search for other stuff, I think it's only natural that other brands find that the way off sort of thing actually makes it worth it now to pay that big registration fee. Because I mean, if stuff just starts selling more, I think it's a natural progression. But the question is which brands it will be. I really hope so now. Like after Ruben brought that up on the podcast, I'm a little more optimistic the effects this will have. I think the sort of hipster group of people that smoke very niche brands here in Sweden has grown a lot, even like these 5 years that we've lived here and smoked cigars. So I think it has a bright future here in Sweden.
Yeah,
good.
I think it's
Yeah,
I don't have much go ahead.
yeah, because even the Cohiba Robusto, just a simple, Robusto was 67 euros here in Ireland, and I think it's 60 pounds in England. So the hikes are pretty good. So thanks, guys, for that answer. That was excellent answer. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, man.
Many thanks for your question, Sai. Mace, I believe you had a follow-up comment.
Yeah, I
sorry.
did. Thank you. Since we're on the subject of the price hike, Habanos has had like not necessarily the best last 365 days as far as like natural disasters. There have been a few factory fires, civil unrest. So do you think between all of this, like the price hike, it might be like a cash influx? Do you see the quality of Habanos going up in the next 5 years, down in the next 5 years, staying the same in the next 5 years? Like me personally, very pessimistic, but I would like to hear your opinions.
Yeah, sadly, I don't think the quality is going to really increase because of this. I think they're just going to, be able to sell their cigars for high prices, and they still want to export the same amount, but stamp a higher price on it. So, sure. I don't really see the quality increasing. I don't think there is that motive either for them to do so, unfortunately.
And it's true. I didn't think about that they would be really exporting the same amounts. They're not necessarily like we raise the prices, let's lower our exports. That would be, although probably the best decision from like a preservation of like the land that they farm on standpoint. Maybe not necessarily the best business decision. So I certainly see why that might be the situation.
Yeah, I think Cuban quality only starts increasing when demand reaches a more sustainable level. I mean, they still can't meet demand. So I mean, Cuba, from a pure economic perspective, have every incentive to just keep pumping out cigars, because even at this quality level they're at now, they're still selling. So I mean, for them to pull a Arturo Fuente and start to produce lower numbers on purpose, that doesn't seem to be their MO, to try to preserve quality. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see it increasing in quality control. Sadly, I don't.
All right. Do you think maybe follow up? Do you think maybe they might be able to keep up with demand? Not necessarily that demand will stay where it's at. I mean, we're probably in something of like an industry boom, but do you think that like between the leveling off and like perhaps if they reinvest some of the gainings from this profiting or from this price increase, they could be able to sustain demand? Not so much just like from like a quality point of view, but like I traveled to Spain recently, and the cigar stock, the scene there in terms of like, it was atrocious, dude. They told me that they hadn't received the box since Christmas, and it was like May.
Yeah.
So do you, I don't know, man. Do you, are we going to see more of the same, or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. But I mean, I think that the demand in China will keep growing. I mean, we're just seeing the start of it. Yeah. And if that keeps growing, then it's an unsaturated, or the market is just too big, I think, to be able to keep up with the
support.
demand there, and then they're going to focus on that. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys so much.
No, thank you.
Also, Luis, I
I'm just going
think
to
you
turn
have
on a light here. It's
to
getting a
keep
bit
in
dark.
mind, Luis, you have to keep in mind though that you're talking about natural resources, and there's just no way of rushing things, or it's not that easy to just expand the 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 amount of hectares that you have available to you in order to grow tobacco. But I'm curious, and I would love Jose Blanco to briefly chime in here, and maybe he can share some of his perspective. Who's going to fill the void? Because even with non-Cuban cigars, we see tremendous increase in demand purely by what's happening in the US market. Then the international markets come in because of the lack of Cuban cigars. And as Arturo Fuente, for example, always rightfully says, you can't rush the hands of time. You got to continue doing things the right way, letting nature do its thing and give time and the same level of high quality to everything that you do. So Jose, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think we're just going to explore different territories and see different growing areas popping up in order to fill certain voids, or more new brands that try to come in and take some of that market share?
Well, you got to look at this in two ways. Before COVID, already you have countries like you take Germany, for example. Germany surpassed Spain as the second largest consumers of cigars in the world. And like even in 2019, already Germany was 65% non-Cuban, 35% Cuban. And now it has to be higher with the shortage of Cuban cigars all over the world. I mean, I was now in Norway, in Sweden, and Denmark, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland. And, there are places that you go, Casa de Lavano, that 70% of the shops are empty. But even before all this and all the problems that Cuba has been having, you already saw a lot of countries going with the non-Cubans. I think still one of the most strongest countries for the Cubans, because even in the UK, and Mitchell Orton said in one of our shows that it was 60-40, and he expected this year to finish 50-50. Still, Italy is very strong. Spain has changed a lot. Germany, for sure. Switzerland, the Netherlands, Austria, has changed. But the situation with the Cubans is a very serious situation, because even Havana said they were going to grow 10 or 12% of less tobacco this year. We know it's around 20%. And plus that, with the social things that are happening, the lack of food, the lack of medicine, the exchange rate at 130 to 1 when the government had it 24 to 1, that's impacting. And everybody who saw on the news, mysteriously, they've had 4 or 5 different fires of these warehouses that have totally burned down. And then anybody who saw the news, they've had in Matanzas, where the petrol comes in, they've had a fire for 3 days where all their refinery is going through a hard time. So things cannot be worse. Now, what is happening? That's still because of the huge boom that we have in the United States. Nobody has been able to supply Europe with all the cigars that are needed. I mean, that we don't have enough cigars. Padron doesn't have enough cigars. I mean, nobody has enough cigars, and everybody wants more cigars. And I think that with the shortage of Cubans, it's giving an opportunity for non-Cuban cigars to come in. But at the same time, look at the prices. I mean, really, $300 for a Cohiba, and then you have a roller making $20 a month in Cuba. I mean, come on, you don't have to be Einstein or John Nash to figure out that things are not working well. I mean, the whole industry would love to see democracy back in Cuba, the greatness of Cuban cigars. And I think the day that Cuba's open up, I think still the best is yet to come. But that's still a little bit far away. I think personally, I think it's the beginning of the end. I think the Cuban regime, unless something dramatic happens there, they cannot sustain themselves for the next 2 years with the social unrest that they have. The jails are totally full of people. You have the sons of policemen, of military people, of ministers in jail, hunger. So that's my 2 cents, as I say in our show, the way I'm seeing things. And quality-wise, I don't think things are going to get better.
Jose, just back to my original question. Now, the Cuban aspect aside, for non-Cuban cigars, you rightfully said that they're lacking in cigars as well. But how's that going to pan out or balance out? Do you just think that the prices for cigars will go up in general in order to slow down the global demand so that the system sort of corrects itself? Or do you see that this uptrend will continue, but everybody's going to be looking for new origins of tobacco, new brands that are coming up, or the old established brands trying to up their production levels?
But you have to understand, because people say, well, why are the prices of cigars gone up so much? It doesn't matter if it's Nicaragua, Honduras, or Mexico, wherever cigars are being made. You got to understand that a container that come from DR, let's say going to Belgium or going to Spain for somebody else, that was $8,000 or $9,000. All of a sudden you're paying 24, 27, even up to $30,000 for that container. Look at the impact of that. Look at the impact of inflation. The workers and all the tobacco growing countries and the manufacturers, with the exception of Cuba, have raised the wages to the rollers, to the farmers, to everything to keep them going. But what's really strange, and I think we've all been wrong, we thought that by this time of the year, things would start to slow. And I mean, we had the best PCA show in the last 4 years. Everybody we talked to had record sales. And you see still a whole bunch of people getting into the business. A lot of people said they came late to the dance, but it seemed that at least they're going to have at least a year. Who knows more, because the consumption of cigars is just worldwide. It's not only something in the States, it's something totally worldwide that's happening. So it's just crazy what's happening.
Thanks for your thoughts and your perspectives on that.
Yeah, Mace, it was a pleasure to hear from you, Jose.
Mace, did you want
to? It's always a pleasure.
To add some more?
That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, yeah. I just one last thing. I guess one is like a bit of a statement in terms of, we all talk about, especially here in Europe, we talk about different countries and the stock levels. And one thing to be really mindful of is, so we talk about Spain, and I was in different parts of Spain, and recently I was in San Sebastian, and very interesting there. I'm walking around San Sebastian, walking to the local tabacaleros, and they've got everything. They got every. I'm stocking up. I'm filling my suitcase. I'm like going crazy because they've got more than enough stock. So that's something to be really mindful of, is that yes, in different countries, in different regions, depending on where the tourists go, there's going to be a lack, or there's going to be an not oversupply. I don't think that's going to be possible, but just be mindful that wherever you're going in Europe, there's going to be different supply levels in different cities within a certain country. That's the one thing. But the second part of what I was going to say was, it's more of a question back to the Stogie lads, is when are we going to possibly see something around where to smoke, how to smoke in Sweden, in the Scandinavian countries? I think that's something that, look, I'm planning on a trip out there. I want to go out there. I always bring, if I'm on a 10-day trip, I'm taking 30 cigars just to cover myself. But it's great to be able to find out, you know what, in the local areas, if you're coming out here, this is a great place to go buy some smokes, great place to go have a smoke, a lounge that's still operating. It'll be great if you guys could give us a local perspective, as I think Ian said, keep it local, pump that factory out there, but also let us know when we come out there, where can we smoke? Who can we connect with? Who's out there? Who's smoking? who's allowing me to come and sit in their garden and have a smoke, whatever the case is. Guys, it'd be great to have a show like that. So it's more of a, like an advice piece, but maybe a question as well if you're planning on that. If not, it'd be great because I would love to know where can I come and smoke. You know, what do you guys recommend? Where do you go? What do you guys do?
That's really good. We did a similar. We've done one video that's like a little bit of a connection with that a few years ago, where we visited the northernmost cigar producer in the world, which is called Bergstrands here in Sweden. It's actually an hour and a half north of where I am right now. So it's kind of in the middle of the country in Sweden, and it's two women that make cigars. Like they grow them, they ferment, they do everything from scratch, and they make cigars here. And that was like a little bit of like a travel sort of recommendation if you're ever here. But it would be super fun to expand on that. I 100% agree. I've had similar thoughts, but we haven't really gotten to it. So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, definitely. And like Shane said here in the chat, Swedish cigar crawl or lounge crawl. So I think that's gonna have to.
Yeah, I'm up for that. I'm up for that. Let's do it. Let's organize
honestly,
it.
Great idea, and we get a lot of great ideas from everyone. So that we want to bring forward. So yeah, just the more the merrier with thoughts. So
Great stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
I have a question. It's very specific, and it's popped up recently out here in California. But I was led to believe that there are no Cuban cigars that are rolled barber pole. But there's starting to be some that are claiming to be. The question is it still Cuban tobacco, and has anybody ever had any experience?
Personally, I mean, no. There's a lot of custom rolls popping up. Ruben and I actually, a few weeks ago, we smoked some custom rolls from Yerandi Gomez, who's a custom roller. There's like whenever these Cuban custom rolls come up, these cigars that aren't from Habanos themselves, that aren't certified, that's always a discussion. Like there's every time you see someone post on whatever platform it may be that they've gotten some of these, there's always a few questions being like, how can you actually know they're verifiably Cuban? And there's no real way of knowing. Like Ruben and I felt in the taste test that they really did taste like pure Cuban tobacco. It wasn't a barber pole style. We've actually yet to have one, but there probably are. I haven't actually seen one personally, but it would be cool to try. I guess that Cuban Maduros aren't historically great, so I don't know how it would taste like. But yeah, it's a very interesting conversation whether or not these people are just kind of scamming consumers when they're selling these custom rolls. The cigars were really good though, and the review will be up on YouTube in a few weeks, or maybe next week actually even.
Thank you.
And then just a brief add-on to May's question. That's the reason why we built Light 'em Up Go. If you want to check out the app, it's app.lightemupgo.com, and you can find cigar retail shops, lounges internationally, but you can also connect with fellow apasionados through the application. So if you want to check it out, that's app.lightemupgo.com. Karl and Ruben are proud ambassadors for Light 'em Up Go as well. So hopefully that's of great service to everybody looking for a great place to smoke and people to connect with.
Great point, Reinhard. Great point. Thank you so much.
Of course. Before we wrap things up, lads, one thing that I would like to ask you is, with your perspective as young cigar enthusiasts, and with such a great future ahead of yourselves, what are some of the things that you would like to see changing in the cigar world for a more prosperous and brighter future for all of us enjoying handmade premium cigars?
While Ruben thinks, I see he's staring out into the distance. I think for me it's two things. I guess they're sort of connected to the same thing. I think it's open-mindedness, both from the people that make the rules and laws in the world. Like there is so little interest from that, and that's one of the few things the world has in common. I mean, pretty much every government in the world has no intention whatsoever to actually understand what cigars are. We are very content from a legislative standpoint of just bunching cigars together with cigarettes, because tobacco and smokable tobacco is all the same, right? But I mean, people are so worried about knowing the intricacies of many other topics, but with cigars, there's just very little intention. So that's what I would like to see, because I mean, here in Sweden, we've made exceptions for snus, which is like the Swedish little tobacco pouches that you keep under your lip. It's a little bit like dip tobacco for Americans, but yeah, Ruben has some there. We've made exceptions because it's a very like Swedish heritage thing. But I mean, it's also based a lot on the medical standpoints, because it's not in the slightest as dangerous as cigarettes when it comes to the actual research. So that would be really nice for people to actually start to value the research behind cigars, because it's not. And then I guess from also just a consumer perspective, I mean, it's already happening, but I love to see it happening more. People trying new stuff, and also just being less set in their ways, you know, whether it's the American that's smoked just Padrones and doesn't want to try anything else. I mean, there's so many other brands out there, but also like, especially, and I try this on a daily basis with the Swedes I know here that only smoke Cubans, just to try, because it's, you know, you wouldn't just drink Spanish red wine and nothing else in your life, or only eat chicken every day. You know, like there's so much out there that I just wish people tried a little bit more. So yeah, it's open-mindedness from those two standpoints for me.
Good point.
Yes, and well, what I really want to continue to see is from the cigar producers that they, you know, the ones that with all the heritage and that make cigars in the right way, you know, don't stress it and anything, that they keep on their legacy and pass on that heritage to the next generations, so they can keep making the cigars. And I have no doubt that most of them will. And of course, there's room for a lot of new cigars to come in, and we're seeing a lot of boutique brands coming, but really staying true to the cigar process and not you know, capitalizing on it, since it is such a piece of art and small like hobby. So yeah, for it to really stay true to the way cigars are made today.
Great comments. Karl, Ruben, what a tremendous show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you with us at the Light 'em Up Lounge. Keep it up. That's all I can say. You are incredible professionals. You're making such a valuable contribution to the premium cigar industry. And the content and the quality of content that you share is impeccable. It's needed. It's very important. And it's helping and supporting a lot of our fellow cigar enthusiasts along their journey. And the future is bright with young enthusiasts like yourself. I think we're all in a good place, and we can look forward to a new generation of cigar enthusiasts emerging and carrying that torch to continue the legacy and the heritage and the history of premium cigars. And that's what we're all here for, to support, and that's what we want to foster. So many thanks for everything that you do. Thanks for being on the show today. And next week, finally, we announced it. We will have Blackwork Studios back. So Angela and James Brown finally will be with us next week for our little Oveja Negra show. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But again, many thanks for today. Thanks for everybody who joined us. Thanks for watching. Check out the Stogie lads on their various platforms. And gentlemen, thanks to you. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Good night.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Reinhard.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Cheers.
Great job. Great
Good night.
job.
Light 'em
Great
up.
job.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Amazing.